Can you believe it? The man I called my husband, the one I promised to spend my life with, sold our baby girl for just $2,000. And when I found out, he tried to kill me to erase every trace. I survived, but not by running away. I survived by getting revenge. They say 70-year-old women don't fight back. They say we're too weak, too fragile. But when he came at me with that knife in our kitchen at 3:15 a.m., something inside me snapped. This is my story. My name is Mary Louise Turner, and I'm 70 years old. I've lived in this small Oklahoma town my whole life, in the same house on Maple Street for the last 48 years. But tonight, as I stand here in my kitchen with my hands still shaking, blood splattered across my favorite yellow curtains, I need to tell you what really happened. It was 3:15 a.m. when Robert came at me with the knife, the same knife I'd used earlier to slice tomatoes for his sandwich. Funny how ordinary things become weapons when evil shows its face. He thought I was asleep, thought he could silence me forever before I told anyone about what he'd done to our daughter, Anna. But I wasn't asleep. I hadn't slept properly in 3 days, not since I'd overheard that phone call, not since I'd learned the truth about the man I'd shared my bed with for nearly 5 decades. The kitchen tiles were cold under my bare feet as I backed away from him. His eyes, those same blue eyes that had charmed me when I was 22, were wild now, desperate. The smell of whiskey rolled off him in waves, mixing with the scent of fear. Mine or his, I couldn't tell anymore. You should have minded your own business, Mary, he slurred, advancing slowly. The knife caught the light from the street lamp outside, creating shadows that danced across the walls like demons. Now look what you're making me do. My hip hit the counter, and I gasped. There was nowhere left to run. Behind me, the window overlooked our backyard where Anna used to play on the swing set, the same yard where I'd planted roses every spring, thinking we were building a life together. How naive I'd been. Please. Robert, I whispered, though I knew begging wouldn't help. When a man decides to sell his own child for $2,000, like she was some used car, there's no humanity left to appeal to. His laugh was hollow, cruel. Please? You're pleading now? Where was that cooperation when you called me a monster, when you threatened to go to the police? The police, if only I'd actually called them instead of confronting him first. But I'd been in shock, unable to believe that the father of my child could do something so heinous. I'd wanted him to deny it, to tell me I'd misunderstood. Instead, he'd backhanded me across the face and told me to keep my mouth shut if I knew what was good for me. That was 3 days ago. 3 days of him watching my every move, of me pretending everything was normal while inside I was screaming. 3 days of planning how to get Anna somewhere safe before the buyers came to collect their purchase. Robert, she's your daughter. I tried again, my voice stronger now. Anger was beginning to override the fear. Your own flesh and blood, how could you— Shut up! He lunged forward and I jerked sideways. The knife sliced through the air where I'd been standing, embedding itself in the wooden cabinet. For a moment, we both froze, staring at the quivering handle. That's when we heard it, the creak of the front door opening. Robert's head snapped toward the sound, and I saw my chance. But before I could move, before I could scream for help, a voice called out, old, worried, familiar. Mary, I saw your lights on. Is everything all right, dear? Dorothy Miller. My 82-year-old neighbor who suffered from insomnia and often checked on me during her nighttime wanderings. Of all the times for her maternal instincts to kick in, Robert yanked the knife free from the cabinet, his face contorting with rage. You called her here, he hissed at me. You planned this. I hadn't, but there was no time to explain, because Robert was already turning toward the kitchen doorway, toward where Dorothy's shuffling footsteps were approaching, and I knew with terrifying clarity what he intended to do. In that moment, I understood that this night would end in blood. The only question was whose. But let me take you back to where it all began. To understand how a man could turn into such a monster, you need to know who Robert Turner used to be, or at least who I thought he was. I met Robert in 1976 at a church social. I was 22, fresh out of secretary school, with dreams bigger than our small Oklahoma town could hold. He was 28, newly arrived from Kansas City with a mysterious past and a smile that could light up a room. All the girls wanted him, but for some reason, he chose me. Mary Louise, he'd said, taking my hand for the first time. You're going to be my wife someday. I laughed it off then, but 6 months later, I was walking down the aisle in my mother's wedding dress, convinced I'd found my happily ever after. Robert was charming, intelligent, with a silver tongue that could sell ice to Eskimos. He got a job at the local car dealership and quickly became their top salesman. Everyone loved Robert Turner, but the cracks showed early if you knew where to look. I just chose not to see them. The drinking started small, a beer after work, whiskey on weekends. I'm unwinding, he'd say when I mentioned it. Don't be such a nag, Mary. By our 5th anniversary, he was going through a bottle of Jim Beam every 2 days. The money from his commissions, which should have gone into our savings for a house, disappeared into bar tabs and poker games. When I told him I was pregnant in 1982, I expected joy. Instead, his face went pale. We can't afford a baby, and he said flatly. You'll have to take care of it. I refused. For the first time in our marriage, I stood up to Robert Turner. The slap came fast, sharp across my cheek. We never talked about it afterward, but something fundamental shifted that night. The mask he wore had slipped, and I'd seen the ugliness underneath. Anna was born on a rainy Tuesday in March, perfect pink, with Robert's blue eyes and my stubborn chin. I thought maybe fatherhood would change him, bring back the man I'd fallen in love with. For a few weeks, it seemed to work. He'd hold her, marvel at her tiny fingers, call her Daddy's little princess. But babies cry. They need attention, money, sacrifice. And Robert Turner had never been good at giving any of those things to anyone but himself. Shut that kid up, became his nightly refrain. He moved to the spare bedroom, claiming he needed sleep for work. The distance between us grew wider than the hallway separating our beds. I became a single mother in my own home, juggling Anna's needs with keeping Robert's temper in check. The strange phone calls started when Anna turned 3, always late at night, always in hushed tones. Robert would take them in the garage, thinking I couldn't hear, but old houses have thin walls, and a worried wife develops sharp ears. Yeah, I understand the terms, I heard him say once. Just give me more time. Gambling debts, I assumed. We'd been down that road before. I'd already emptied my inheritance from Grandma to pay off his bookies twice. There was nothing left to give. Then came the night 3 days ago. It was 11:45 p.m., and I'd gotten up for water. Robert was in his office, what used to be Anna's nursery before he claimed it, talking on the phone. I pressed my ear to the door, expecting to hear him begging for another extension on whatever he owed. Instead, I heard him sealing our daughter's fate. $2,000, cash. This weekend, you can take her. She's 12 now. Prime age like you wanted. Blonde hair, blue eyes, real pretty. Never been touched. I made sure of that. My knees buckled. I slid down the wall, hand pressed to my mouth to stop the scream building in my throat. This couldn't be real. I was having a nightmare. Robert might be a drunk, a gambler, a disappointment, but a child trafficker? A man willing to sell his own daughter? Look, I need the money, he continued. You know what these people will do to me if I don't pay. This solves both our problems. You get what you want. I get to keep my kneecaps. The wife won't be an issue. I'll handle her. Handle her. Handle me. I crawled back to my bedroom, my mind racing. Call the police? Pack Anna up and run? Confront him? Every option seemed to lead to disaster. If I called the cops, would they believe me without proof? If I ran, how far would we get before he found us? If I confronted him, I chose the worst option. The next morning, hands shaking as I poured his coffee, I said, I heard your phone call last night. The coffee mug shattered against the wall an inch from my head. By the time I'd wiped the brown liquid from my face, Robert had me pressed against the refrigerator, his hand around my throat. You heard nothing, he growled, and if you think you did, you better forget it real quick. Or Anna won't be the only one disappearing this weekend. That was 3 days ago. 3 days of living in terror, of watching him watch me, of pretending everything was normal while planning our escape. 3 days that led to this moment, with him holding a knife and Dorothy Miller about to walk into a nightmare. The full horror of what I'd overheard didn't hit me until the next morning. I stood at Anna's bedroom door at 6:30 a.m., watching her sleep. Her blonde hair fanned across the pillow, one arm wrapped around the stuffed elephant she'd had since she was 12 years old. My baby was only 12, and her father had put a price tag on her innocence. $2,000. That's all she was worth to him. I made breakfast with shaking hands, burning the eggs twice. Robert sat at the table reading his newspaper like any other morning, occasionally glancing up to make sure I wasn't doing anything suspicious. Anna came down in her school uniform, chattering about her science project, oblivious to the danger closing in around her. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, noticing my red eyes. "You look like you've been crying." "Allergies, sweetheart," I lied, forcing a smile. "Eat your breakfast." Robert's eyes narrowed over his paper. A warning. After Anna left for school, I tried to think rationally. I needed proof. The police wouldn't believe such an outrageous claim without evidence. So I waited until Robert left for work, then searched his office. What I found made me vomit in his wastebasket. Photos. Not of Anna, thank God, but of other young girls. Printed emails discussing merchandise and delivery dates. A ledger with dollar amounts next to initials, and at the bottom of his locked drawer, which I broke open with a screwdriver, a burner phone with text messages that made my blood run cold. Package arrived Saturday 9 p.m. Blonde, 12 years. Virgin confirmed, $2K cash on delivery, address to follow. Saturday. That was in 2 days. I photographed everything with my phone, my hands trembling so badly it took multiple tries to get clear images. I was putting everything back when I heard Robert's car in the driveway. He wasn't supposed to be home until 5 p.m. It was only 1:15 p.m. I shoved the drawer closed and ran to the kitchen, pulling out cleaning supplies to look busy. Robert stormed in, his face twisted with suspicion. "Got a call from Mrs. Henderson," he said slowly. "Says she saw you going into my office. Thought I should know in case we had a burglar." Nosy Mrs. Henderson from across the street. Of all the times for her surveillance habit to kick in. "I was cleaning," I said, not meeting his eyes. "You always complain about the dust." His backhand caught me across the face, sending me sprawling onto the linoleum. "You were snooping," he snarled. "What did you find, Mary? What did you see?" I tasted blood from my split lip. "Nothing. I didn't see anything." He yanked me up by my hair, and I cried out. "Don't lie to me. You've never been a good liar." His eyes went to my apron pocket, where the outline of my phone was visible. "Give it to me." "Robert, please." He slammed me against the counter and ripped the phone from my pocket. It took him less than a minute to find the photos I'd taken. His face went from red to purple to a terrifying shade of white. "You stupid, stupid woman," he whispered. "Do you have any idea what you've done? These people don't play games. If I don't deliver what I promised, they'll kill us all, Anna included." "Then we run," I said desperately. "We pack up right now and leave. Start over somewhere." His laugh was hollow. "Run? With what money? Where would we go that they wouldn't find us? No, Mary, there's only one way this ends now." That's when he told me his new plan. He'd kill me, make it look like a burglary gone wrong, tell Anna her mother was dead, then deliver her to the buyers as planned. With the $2,000, he'd disappear, start fresh somewhere else, maybe Mexico, maybe Canada, somewhere the people he owed money to couldn't find him. "You're insane," I whispered. "You're talking about murdering your wife and selling your daughter like she's cattle. I'm talking about survival," he corrected. "Mine. Specifically, you should have minded your own business, Mary. We could have done this the easy way. Anna would have disappeared. I'd have played the grieving father, collected the insurance money, and moved on. But no, you had to go digging." He locked me in our bedroom for the rest of the day, taking my phone and the landline with him. I heard him on the phone, rearranging plans, moving up timelines. At 6 p.m., he let Anna in to say goodnight to me, watching from the doorway. "Mom, why is the door locked?" Anna asked, confused. "And what happened to your face?" "I'm not feeling well, baby," I said, hugging her tight, memorizing the feel of her in my arms. "Just a little fall. You be a good girl, okay? Remember that Mommy loves you more than all the stars in the sky." She kissed my bruised cheek. "Love you too, Mom. Feel better. Feel." Robert ushered her out, and I heard her bedroom door close. Then he was back, leaning against the door frame with a glass of whiskey in one hand. "Tomorrow night," he said. "I've moved everything up. The buyers will come for Anna at 9 p.m. tomorrow. And you? Well, you'll have an unfortunate accident before then. Break-in gone wrong. Happens all the time in neighborhoods like this." "People will ask questions," I said. "Dorothy checks on me every day. My sister calls every Sunday. They'll know something's wrong. Dorothy's a senile old bat who'll believe whatever I tell her, and your sister lives in California. By the time she realizes something's off, I'll be long gone." He took a long sip of whiskey. "Get some sleep. Mary, tomorrow's going to be a big day." He locked the door again, and I heard his footsteps fade down the hall. I didn't sleep. Instead, I planned. I tested the window, painted shut years ago, examined the door, solid oak, deadbolted from outside. Searched for anything I could use as a weapon. Nothing but pillows and hangers. Then, at 3 a.m., I heard him get up, heard him go to the kitchen, heard the drawer open where we kept the knives. He was coming to kill me now. Not tomorrow. Something had changed his mind. Maybe the buyers wanted Anna sooner. Maybe he just couldn't wait any longer. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door, a wire hanger clutched in my hands, the only weapon I could find. When the lock turned, when the door opened, I was ready to fight for my life, but Robert wasn't expecting me to be awake, wasn't expecting resistance from a 70-year-old woman he'd terrorized for years. When he stepped into the dark room, knife raised, I struck. The wire hanger caught him across the face, and he stumbled backward with a curse, but I'd only made him angrier. He lunged at me, and we crashed into the dresser, sending my jewelry box flying. In the darkness, I could barely see the knife, just the glint of metal as it swept toward me. That's when Dorothy's voice rang out from downstairs. "Mary, I saw your lights on. Is everything all right, dear?" God bless her insomnia. God bless her nosy, caring heart. Robert froze for a split second, and I took my chance. I shoved past him and ran for the stairs, screaming, "Dorothy, call 911, call the police." But Robert was faster, younger, stronger. He caught me at the top of the stairs, spinning me around. The knife glinted between us, and I could see murder in his eyes. Not the cold, calculated plan he'd described earlier, but hot, raw rage. "You ruined everything," he hissed. Dorothy appeared at the bottom of the stairs, her pink housecoat fluttering, her white hair in curlers. She took one look at Robert holding the knife and let out a scream that could wake the dead. "Let her go!" Dorothy shrieked, already fumbling for the phone on the hall table. "I'm calling the police!" Robert's attention shifted to her, and I knew what he was thinking. No witnesses. He'd have to kill us both now. As he started down the stairs toward Dorothy, I grabbed the heavy glass vase from the hallway table, my mother's vase, the one wedding gift that had survived our marriage, and brought it down on his head. The vase shattered. Robert stumbled, blood streaming down his face, but he didn't go down. Instead, he turned back to me with a roar of fury. What happened next was a blur of violence. Robert swinging the knife, me dodging, throwing anything I could reach, Dorothy screaming into the phone, giving our address to the emergency dispatcher. The three of us in a deadly dance through my living room, leaving destruction in our wake. Robert managed to corner Dorothy near the kitchen, and I saw him raise the knife. My sweet neighbor who'd brought me casseroles when Anna was born, who'd sat with me through Robert's drinking binges, who'd come to check on me in the middle of the night. I couldn't let him hurt her. I grabbed the poker from the fireplace and swung it with every ounce of strength I had left. It connected with Robert's arm, and the knife went flying. But Robert, fueled by desperation and whiskey, tackled me to the ground. His hands found my throat. "Should have done this years ago," he growled as my vision started to go black. "Should have gotten rid of you when Anna was a baby." Dorothy, bless her 82-year-old heart, picked up the fallen knife. "Let her go," she commanded, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "I won't ask twice." Robert laughed. "You going to stab me, old woman? You don't have the guts." He was wrong. Dorothy Miller, grandmother of 7, devoted Methodist and baker of the best apple pie in the county, drove that knife right into Robert's shoulder. He released me with a howl of pain. Rolling away and clutching the wound, I gasped for air, my throat on fire. In the distance, sirens wailed. The police were coming. Robert struggled to his feet, the knife still protruding from his shoulder. He looked between Dorothy and me, calculating his chances. Then he stumbled toward the back door. "This isn't over," he snarled. "I'll be back for what's mine." He disappeared into the night, leaving a trail of blood across my kitchen floor. The police arrived 3 minutes later, but Robert was gone. They found his car abandoned by the river 2 miles away. Blood on the driver's seat, his wallet and shoes on the bank. The current was strong that night, swollen with spring rain. The officers exchanged knowing looks. "He's gone, ma'am," Detective Morrison told me at 4:45 a.m. as the sun began to rise. "Whether he jumped or fell trying to escape, that river doesn't give up its secrets easily. We'll drag it, but—" He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew about the undertow at Devil's Bend, how it had claimed 3 lives just last summer. They classified Robert as missing, presumed drowned, but I knew better. Robert Turner was many things: a drunk, a gambler, a would-be child trafficker, an attempted murderer, but he wasn't stupid. And he definitely wasn't suicidal. That staged scene by the river was too perfect, too convenient. As they loaded Dorothy into an ambulance to check her over, brave Dorothy who'd saved my life, I stared out at the dark woods beyond my backyard. Somewhere out there, Robert was watching, waiting, planning. The police stationed a patrol car outside our house and moved Anna and me to a safe house on the other side of town. "Just until we're certain," Detective Morrison said, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. He thought I was just a traumatized old woman jumping at shadows. The safe house was a small, nondescript rambler on Elm Street, with bars on the windows and reinforced doors. Anna was told there'd been a break-in at our home, that Dad had tried to stop the intruder and was missing. She cried herself to sleep that first night, begging to go look for him. If only she knew the truth. But how do you tell a 12-year-old that her father tried to sell her to human traffickers? How do you explain that the man who taught her to ride a bike and called her princess was a monster? I didn't sleep that night, or the next. Every creak of the house, every car passing by, every shadow at the window sent my heart racing. The police said I was safe. They said Robert was dead. But I could feel him out there, a predator circling his prey. And I knew he'd never stop, not until he got what he wanted. The $2,000, Anna, and my silence, permanent this time. The police might think Robert Turner drowned in that river, but I knew my husband. He was a survivor, a cockroach who'd crawl through hell itself if there was $1 on the other side. He was alive, and he was coming. The third night in the safe house, my fears proved real. I woke at 2:43 a.m. to the sound of scratching at the back door. Not the random noise of a raccoon or stray cat, deliberate, rhythmic scratching. Like someone testing the lock, I lay frozen in bed, straining to hear over my pounding heart. Then I saw it, a shadow passing by the bedroom window. Too tall to be an animal, too purposeful to be a random passerby. Robert. I crept to Anna's room and shook her gently awake. "We need to hide," I whispered. "Right now. Don't make a sound." Her eyes went wide with fear, but she nodded. We'd practiced this drill with the police if anything suspicious happened. We were to lock ourselves in the bathroom and call for help. But as we tiptoed down the hall, I heard the back door creak open. He was inside. We slipped into the bathroom and I locked the door with trembling fingers, then pushed Anna into the bathtub and pulled the shower curtain closed. Stay down. I breathed. No matter what happens, don't come out. I dialed 911 on the burner phone the police had given me, whispering our address to the dispatcher. He's in the house. My husband, please hurry. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, measured, like he had all the time in the world. He knew where we were. This house only had one bathroom. The doorknob rattled. Mary? His voice was different, hoarse, damaged, like the river had tried to claim him after all. Open the door. Let's talk about this like civilized people. The police are coming, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. It's over, Robert. His laugh was wet, ugly. The police, the same ones who think I'm dead, they're not coming. Mary, I cut the phone lines and jammed the cell towers. Learned some new tricks while I was gone. My blood ran cold. The phone in my hand showed no signal. He was lying. He had to be lying. The door shuddered as he threw his weight against it. Once. Twice. The old wood began to splinter. Behind the shower curtain, I heard Anna whimper. I know she's in there, Robert called. My buyer is very disappointed. Mary, do you know what these people do when deals fall through? They don't just want their merchandise. They want compensation, interest, pain. Another slam against the door. The lock was failing. But I'm willing to make a deal, he continued. Give me Anna, and I'll make your death quick. Fight me, and I'll make you watch what they do to her first. Rage flooded through me then. Pure, molten rage that burned away the fear. This man, this monster I'd wasted 48 years of my life on, thought he could bargain with my daughter's life, thought he could terrorize us into submission. I grabbed the heavy ceramic lid from the toilet tank, holding it like a shield. You want her? You'll have to go through me. The door exploded inward. Robert stood in the doorway, a grotesque shadow of the man I'd married. His face was swollen and discolored, one eye clouded white. The knife wound in his shoulder had festered, soaking his shirt with something dark and foul. He looked like he'd crawled out of hell itself, and maybe he had. He held a new knife, bigger than before. I was hoping you'd say that. He lunged, and I swung the ceramic lid with all my might. It caught him in his wounded shoulder, and he howled like a wounded animal, but he kept coming, the knife slashing through the air. I felt it catch my arm, hot pain blooming as blood soaked my nightgown. We grappled in the small bathroom, crashing into walls, knocking over everything. My feet slipped in my own blood, and I went down hard. Robert loomed over me, knife raised for the killing blow. That's when Anna burst from the bathtub. No! She screamed, jumping on her father's back, clawing at his face. Leave her alone! Leave my mom alone! Anna, no, I cried, but she held on like a wildcat, gouging at his ruined eye. Robert roared and spun, trying to shake her off. The knife flew from his hand, clattering across the tile. We both dove for it. My fingers closed on the handle just as his hand grabbed my wrist. We struggled, the blade between us, each fighting for control. I could see madness in his one good eye. I could smell death on his breath. You destroyed everything, he gasped. My life, my plans, everything. You destroyed yourself, I shot back, putting every ounce of strength into turning the blade toward him. You chose this. You chose money over your own daughter. Anna was beating at his back with her small fists, sobbing, my sweet girl forced to fight her own father. The injustice of it gave me a final surge of strength. The blade turned, inch by inch. I forced it toward him. Robert's eye widened as he realized he was losing. Mary, please. I thought of all the years of abuse, all the lies, the drinking, the gambling. I thought of him on that phone, selling our daughter like property. I thought of the knife in my kitchen, his hands around my throat, the terror in Anna's eyes. Go to hell, I whispered, but just as the blade touched his chest, we heard it. Sirens, real ones this time, growing louder. The 911 call had gone through after all. Robert heard them too. With a final burst of desperate strength, he threw me off and scrambled to his feet. He looked between Anna and me, calculating whether he had time to finish what he'd started. The sirens were getting closer. Red and blue lights flashed through the bathroom window. This isn't over, he snarled, backing toward the window. I'll never stop. Never. She's mine to sell. and your mind to silence. Remember that when you try to sleep." He kicked out the window and disappeared into the night, leaving us bloodied but alive. Anna threw herself into my arms, and we held each other, shaking and crying, until the police broke down the front door. They searched for hours but found no trace of him, just blood on the windowsill and footprints disappearing into the woods. The manhunt intensified. Helicopters, search dogs, roadblocks, but Robert had become a ghost. And ghosts, I was learning, were harder to kill than men. After the safe house was compromised, they moved us again. This time, the FBI got involved. Child trafficking across state lines made it a federal case, and suddenly we had Agent Collins, a stone-faced man in his 50s who looked like he'd seen too much evil in the world. "We've uncovered a larger network," he told me in a windowless conference room. "Your husband wasn't just selling Anna. He was a small cog in a very big, very dangerous machine. These people don't like loose ends." He showed me photos from Robert's office that made my stomach turn. Not just the ones I'd found, but dozens more hidden in encrypted files. Children from all over the Midwest. Missing kids whose faces had been on milk cartons, and records detailed, horrifying records of sales. "We need Robert alive," Agent Collins said. "He has names, contacts, locations. With his testimony, we could save dozens of children." "He tried to kill me," I reminded him. "Twice. I understand your anger, Mrs. Turner, but right now, Robert is more valuable alive than dead. We need you and Anna as bait." Bait. My 12-year-old daughter as bait for a child trafficking ring, I wanted to scream, to flip that conference table and storm out. But where would we go? How long could we run before Robert or his business partners found us? They set us up in a new location, a fortified house in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by federal agents. Anna was told it was witness protection, that bad people were after us because Dad had seen something he shouldn't have. Another lie to protect her innocence. What little remained. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Anna did her schoolwork with a tutor. I jumped at every sound. Agent Collins checked in daily, showing me surveillance photos of suspected traffickers, asking if I recognized anyone. I didn't, but their faces haunted my dreams. Then, on a Thursday night at 11:17 p.m., the motion sensors went off. I was in the kitchen when Agent Collins burst in. "He's here. 3 men, approaching from the north. Get Anna to the panic room, now." The panic room was a reinforced basement chamber, built like a bunker. Anna and I had practiced the drill dozens of times. But as I ran to her room, I heard gunfire. Automatic weapons. The federal agents were returning fire, but there were screams. Men down. I found Anna already awake, trembling in her bed. "Mom, we have to go. Baby, right now." We ran for the basement stairs, but the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red in that hellish glow. I saw him. Robert stood at the top of the basement stairs. His face was different. Plastic surgery, maybe. Or just the damage from his injuries healed wrong. But those eyes, I'd know those cold blue eyes anywhere. "Hello, Mary." He wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him, carrying guns that looked like they belonged in a war zone. "My associates are very upset with you. You've cost them a lot of money." "Let Anna go," I begged. "Take me. Do whatever you want of me. But let her go." One of the men laughed. "The girl's already sold. Lady, buyer's waiting. Been waiting too long." Robert descended the stairs slowly, favoring his left leg. "You should have just let it happen. Mary, she would have been in Brazil by now, living in luxury with a wealthy family who can't have children of their own." That's what I told myself. "Anyway, you're sick." I spat. "You're all sick." "Maybe, but I'm also desperate. Do you know what these people do to those who don't deliver? What they did to me when I showed up empty-handed?" He pulled up his shirt, revealing a roadmap of scars. 3 weeks of education in the consequences of failure. More gunfire upstairs, shouts. The federal agents were losing. "Enough talking," one of the men said. "Get the girl. Kill the old woman." But Robert hesitated. For just a moment, looking at Anna, something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Humanity? Or just calculation? "Daddy?" Anna's voice was small, confused. Why are you doing this?" That moment of hesitation cost him. Agent Collins appeared at the top of the stairs, blood streaming from a head wound but his gun steady. "Federal agent, weapons down, now!" The two men spun and fired. Collins dove for cover. In the chaos, I grabbed Anna and pulled her into the panic room, slamming the reinforced door behind us. The electronic locks engaged with a satisfying thud. We were safe. For now. The panic room was small, maybe 8 by 10 feet, with concrete walls and a bank of monitors showing security feeds. I watched in horror as a firefight erupted through the house. Federal agents against traffickers, with Robert caught in the middle. "Mom, what's happening?" Anna was crying now. "Why did Dad bring those men? Why did they want to take me?" I held her close, unable to find the words. On the monitors, I saw Robert break away from the fight, limping toward our position. He knew about the panic room. He'd been here when they showed us the house. He knew we were trapped. He appeared on the basement camera, approaching the panic room door. His associates were dead or fled, the federal agents regrouping upstairs. It was just him now, just us. He pulled something from his pocket. C4, I realized with horror. Plastic explosives. "Mary." His voice came through the intercom. "This door is rated for small arms fire, not explosives. You have 30 seconds to open it, or I blow it open. Either way, I'm taking what's mine." On the monitors, I could see federal agents moving toward the basement, but they wouldn't make it in time. Robert was already placing the charges. 20 seconds, Mary. I looked at my daughter, my sweet, innocent Anna, who still didn't understand why her father had become a monster, who might not survive understanding. 10 seconds. I made my choice. I reached for the door release. "Mom, no!" Anna grabbed my hand. "Don't let him in. I have to. Baby, but I need you to trust me. When I say run, you run. Don't look back." 5 seconds. My finger hovered over the release button. In the monitors, I saw Agent Collins and 2 other agents at the basement door. So close, but not close enough. "Time's up," Robert said. But I'd already pressed the button. The locks disengaged. The door swung open, and I stood facing the man I'd once promised to love until death do us part. "Hello, Robert," I said. "Let's finish this." Robert stood in the doorway, the C4 still in his hand, his finger on what looked like a dead man's switch. If he let go, we'd all die. "Smart woman," he said, his ruined face twisting into something that might have been a smile. "Always were too smart for your own good." Behind him, I could hear Agent Collins and the others getting closer, but Robert heard them too. He stepped into the panic room and slammed the door behind him, engaging the locks. Now we were all trapped together, a family reunion in hell. "Daddy, please," Anna whimpered from behind me. "I don't understand." "Why are you doing this?" Robert's good eye fixed on her. "Because Daddy made some bad choices. Princess. Borrowed money from the wrong people, and when you can't pay with cash, you pay with blood. She's your daughter." I positioned myself between them. "Your own flesh and blood, and worth $50,000 to the right buyer," he exploded. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I planned to become this?" He gestured at his ravaged face. "I was trying to save us all. If I don't deliver her, they'll kill us. All of us. Slowly." The monitors showed Agent Collins at the panic room door, but the locks were engaged from inside. They'd need cutting tools, explosives, time we didn't have. Robert noticed too. "They can't get in. Not in time." He held up the detonator. "And if they try, I'll turn us all into paste. So here's what's going to happen. We're walking out of here together. One big happy family. Any tricks, any signals to your federal friends, and boom." I felt something then. Not fear anymore. I'd moved beyond fear. This was clarity. Cold, perfect clarity. "Okay," I said. "But first, I need you to know something." He rolled his eye. "What now, Mary? Want to tell me what a monster I am? How I failed as a father? Save it." "No." I stepped closer, keeping my voice steady. "I want you to know about the gas leak." He frowned. "What gas leak?" "The one I created 10 minutes ago, when I sabotaged the heating system in this room." I pointed to the vent near the floor, where I'd quietly loosened the gas line while Anna was distracted by the monitors. This room's been filling with natural gas since we locked ourselves in." His face went pale. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Take a deep breath." "Robert, smell that? Rotten eggs, mercaptan, the stuff they add to natural gas so people notice leaks." I pulled out the emergency flare from the panic room's supply kit. One spark, and we all go up. But unlike your C4, this'll look like an accident. Gas leak in an old safe house. Tragic, really. You wouldn't... Anna's in here, too. "You were going to sell her to pedophiles," I said, my voice hard as stone. "You think I'd let that happen? I'd rather see her dead than in their hands. At least this way. We die together, as a family." Anna gasped behind me, but I couldn't comfort her. Not yet. This had to be perfect. Robert's hand shook on the detonator. "You're insane." I learned from the best. I held the flare higher. "So what's it going to be? Your bomb or mine?" The gas smell was getting stronger. Real now. Not just suggestion. In the monitors, I could see Agent Collins had brought cutting equipment. Sparks flew as they worked on the door. Sparks that could ignite the gas at any moment. "Stop them," Robert pointed at the monitors. "Tell them to stop cutting, the sparks." "Why? I thought you wanted us all dead anyway." I flicked the cap off the flare. "Let's get it over with." "Mom, no." Anna tried to grab the flare, but I held it away. She didn't understand. This was the only card I had left to play. Robert was sweating now, the detonator slippery in his grip. Okay, what do you want?" "Put down the C4, slowly, then kick it over here." "And then what? You'll still light us up?" "No, then you'll confess. Everything, the trafficking ring, the names, the locations. Agent Collins is recording everything through the security system. Give them what they need, and maybe we all walk out of here." Robert laughed bitterly. "Confess? Do you know what they do to child traffickers in prison? I'm dead either way." "Then die with a shred of honor. Save those other children. Let Anna see you do one good thing before the end." The gas was making me dizzy now. Or maybe that was adrenaline. In the monitors, the cutting had stopped. Collins must have noticed the gas danger. They were pulling back, evacuating. Smart. But that left us alone. "Daddy," Anna spoke up, her voice stronger now. "Please, just tell them. Tell them everything. I don't want to die. I don't want you to die. I just want this to stop." Something broke in Robert's face then. The mask he'd worn. The justifications, the desperate calculations, it all crumbled. For a moment, I saw the man I'd married 48 years ago. Lost, scared, in way over his head. "I'm sorry," he whispered. To Anna, to me, to himself. "I'm so sorry." He set down the detonator gently and kicked it toward me. Then he looked directly at the camera. "My name is Robert Turner. For the past 2 years, I've been working with a trafficking ring operating out of Kansas City. The leader is Marcus Webb. I have names, dates, transaction records. It's all in a storage unit in Tulsa, number 473. The key is hidden in..." The lights went out. Complete darkness. In that black void, I heard movement, a shuffle of feet, a grunt of pain. When the emergency lights flickered on a second later, Robert was on the ground, clutching his chest, heart attack or stroke, the stress finally catching up. "Daddy!" Anna rushed to him, and this time I didn't stop her. She cradled his head in her lap, tears streaming down her face. Robert looked up at her with his one good eye. "I'm sorry, Princess. I'm so..." His words trailed off. His body went still. The man I'd loved, hated, feared, and finally pitied was gone. Agent Collins's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mrs. Turner, we've shut off the gas. Are you all right in there?" I looked at my daughter, holding her dead father, at the detonator on the floor, at the flare still in my hand. We were alive. Somehow, impossibly, we'd survived. "We're okay," I called back, my voice hollow. "But Robert's gone." The locks disengaged from outside. They'd found the override. Agent Collins rushed in with a medical team, but it was too late for Robert. They pronounced him dead at 11:58 p.m. As they let us out, Anna clinging to my hand, I heard Collins on his radio. "We have a partial confession and a storage unit location. Move teams to Tulsa immediately. Bring bolt cutters." Robert's death had ended our nightmare, but for dozens of other children and families, the nightmare was just beginning to unravel. His final confession, incomplete as it was, would save lives. Maybe that counted for something. Maybe in his last moments, Robert Turner had remembered how to be human. Or maybe I just needed to believe that, for Anna's sake. For all our sakes, they told us Robert died of a massive heart attack brought on by severe stress and untreated injuries. The medical examiner said his body had been running on adrenaline and desperation for weeks. When he finally stopped, when he finally let go of the rage and fear, his heart simply gave out. I suppose there's poetry in that, or maybe just pathetic irony. The storage unit in Tulsa was a goldmine of horror. Names, photos, transaction records going back 5 years. Robert had been meticulous in his record keeping, probably planning to use it as insurance if things went bad. Instead, it became evidence that led to 73 arrests across 12 states. They rescued 19 children who were being held for sale. 19 lives saved because Robert Turner, in his final moments, chose confession over silence. Anna and I attended his funeral. Just us, Dorothy Miller, and Agent Collins standing in the back. The rest of the town wanted nothing to do with the man who'd betrayed everything they believed in. I understood. But Anna needed to say goodbye to her father. Monster or not, she placed a single white rose on his casket. "I forgive you. Daddy," she whispered. "I hope you find peace." I couldn't forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever, but I could let go. We moved after that. Started fresh in a small town in Oregon where nobody knew our story. Anna went to therapy twice a week, working through trauma no child should have to process. She had nightmares, trust issues, days when she couldn't get out of bed, but she also had strength I'd never imagined. My baby girl was a survivor. Dorothy Miller passed away 6 months later, peacefully in her sleep, at her funeral. Her daughter told me Dorothy had spoken of that night often. She said you were the bravest woman she'd ever known. Her daughter said you fought like a warrior to protect your child. I didn't feel brave. I felt old, tired, and broken in ways that would never fully heal. But every morning, I got up, made breakfast, drove Anna to school, attended PTA meetings, did normal things in our abnormal life. Agent Collins kept in touch. The trafficking ring Robert had been part of unraveled completely. Marcus Webb got life without parole. Dozens of other predators faced justice. Children were reunited with families who'd thought them lost forever. Your husband's confession changed everything, Collins told me during one of his calls. I know it doesn't erase what he did, but his information saved lives. 3 years have passed now. Anna's 15, taller than me, with her father's blue eyes but my stubborn spirit. She wants to be a social worker, to help children who've been through trauma. I'm proud of her, terrified for her, but mostly proud. Sometimes I wake at 3:15 a.m., my body remembering that night in the kitchen when everything started. I lie there in the darkness, listening for sounds that won't come. Robert's gone. The danger's past. We're safe. But safety, I've learned, is relative. The world is full of Robert Turners, men and women who'd sell their own children for money, who'd kill to keep their secrets. They walk among us wearing masks of normalcy until desperation or greed tears those masks away. I volunteer now at a domestic violence shelter. I tell my story to women who think they're trapped, who think they're too old or too weak to fight back. I show them my scars, physical and emotional, and tell them survival is possible. That sometimes the only way out is through. That sometimes you have to be willing to burn everything down to save what matters most. Last week, Anna asked me a question I'd been dreading. "Mom, do you think Dad ever really loved us?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. I think he loved us the only way he knew how. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people break in ways that make them dangerous to the ones they claim to love. That doesn't excuse what he did. Nothing could. But maybe understanding it helps us heal. She nodded, wise beyond her years. "I'm glad you fought for me, Mom. I'm glad you didn't let him take me. I'd do it again," I told her, 1,000 times over. And I would. Because that's what mothers do. We fight monsters, even when those monsters wear familiar faces, even when they're the men we once promised to love and honor, even when fighting them might cost us everything. My name is Mary Louise Turner. I'm 73 years old now. I survived my husband's betrayal, his violence, his attempts to sell our daughter and silence me forever. I won not by running, not by hiding, but by being willing to die rather than let evil win. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes survival is the best revenge of all. Every day Anna smiles, every life saved because of Robert's confession, every woman who leaves her abuser because she heard my story. That's my revenge. Robert wanted $2,000 and my silence. Instead, he got justice and a truth that echoed across the country. He died as he lived, desperate and afraid, but in his final moment, he gave us the one thing I never expected, the truth, and the truth, as they say, set us free. My hands don't shake anymore. The nightmares come less often. Anna laughs more than she cries. We're not okay. I don't know if we'll ever be truly okay, but we're alive. We're together. We're healing. And in the end, that's enough. It has to be. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're hearing this from. Please comment below and let's connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your own stories of survival and strength matter too. And together, we can make sure no one fights alone.